Okay, good morning, world. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning on the 1st of April 2022. Yeah, it rained on me. Not supposed to do that. So, I was watching the clouds for quite a while. I had the bed set up, but I hadn't pulled the sleeping bag out, and I kept thinking, okay, the forecast said it's probably going to rain and then stop about midnight, but I didn't want to wait that long. But I didn't want the sleeping bag to get wet, so I sat there and waited, and just about the time I'm ready to go ahead and grab the sleeping bag, then it starts raining. I'm like, oh, okay. Just not really hard, but just enough, right? So I had brought this piece of, this is 4 mil plastic. I had a whole roll of it, and so I kind of cut a big piece before I left and had it all tucked up on the bike somewhere. And anybody who knows me knows how much I hate plastic and tarps and stuff because it always is windy. And yeah, mostly it worked. I think I got dew through, everything, but it did shed the water, it seemed like. So, but I spent, the whole time it was raining, I'm sitting there wide awake trying to hold on to the plastic to keep it from blowing off. I couldn't tuck it over myself. I didn't want to tape it all up, which is probably what I'll end up doing, but if I could tape it on two sides or something like that. So the part that, I guess what worked is I put it under the sleeping bag, put the sleeping bag down. I threw all my backpacks on it to hold it down while I got it in place. And then as I crawled in, I took the backpacks off, so my weight held everything down. And on the foot end, I was able to tuck it a little bit, but then the wind would just blow it. So anyway, I was trying to set myself up in the direction that I'd be least likely to get ran over here, in case they decided they wanted to use this for a turnaround or something like that. So not quite ideal, but and then, as if that wasn't enough, you see there's a lot of tracks here that aren't mine. So about midnight, I feel something bump the bed and bright light shines on me, and I'm like, oh man, I'm about to get ran over, I thought, right? Throw my arms up, get my head out of the sleeping bag, look right into a flashlight. Oh no, right? And then the second flashlight turns on from the other angle, and I'm like, oh. I look back and forth, and I'm like, I'm surrounded. And the guy starts laughing. He's like, no, it's just us. The police are here. And I'm like, okay. So they get a look at me and everything and ask a couple questions. And apparently somebody had stolen something from the Loves, the truck stop that's there. And I didn't look like the description. So they're like, okay, well, have a good night. And they leave. And I'm like, okay, so they didn't make me leave or anything. I wasn't the guy they were looking for. So I'm looking up, and now the stars are out, so it's not going to rain anymore probably, except it did. And looks like the sun is up. It's just behind all that clouds. But look, there's almost no clouds today. This might make up for everything. Anyway, probably 10 minutes later, I'm just starting to doze off, and I see more lights coming. And sure enough, now I got 3 police cars. And one of the cars had 2 of the same guys, and then 2 more police officers come out. And I'm like, as soon as they were close enough that they could see me, I had my hands up, just so they didn't get twitchy or something like that. And they get closer, and okay, hi, how you doing? I'm like, first thing I say, because I couldn't see who they were, is, okay, another there was another car here just a few minutes ago that I already talked to because I just assumed they hadn't talked to each other. And they're like, no, that was us. Oh, okay. So it's the same guys plus two more. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So they just had a few more questions. They just, they told me, kind of, well, one of the guys wanted to see what my shoes looked like because the guy that they were looking for had white shoes. And I'm like, what kind of moron robs a store with white shoes? I mean, that's the easiest thing to identify ever, No, I showed him my shoes. No, that's not it. Okay, so I sit up and we're talking for a little bit. And they were super friendly and polite and everything, and I was doing my best to be, cheerful and everything, which I think kind of helps. I mean, if you're a jerk, then they'd probably tell me I'd have to leave, So, yeah, we had a good old time and everything's good, and they let me stay, and I'm like, okay, So, now I'm kind of like looking around, it's like, well, is the bad guy going to sneak up behind me out of the bushes or something like that? But didn't see anybody, so yeah, it was just kind of a weird thing. Out in the wild, I'm more expecting, to get eaten by a polar bear or something like that. I'm not thinking about the police all showing up. But yeah, that was my night. Not even April Fool's. That really happened. Okay. I pulled the batteries down pretty good yesterday. I had probably 2 or 3 hours of good sunshine, so I really made up some time. And then the last hour and a half coming into town here, the clouds came back in, and the storm was right behind me. I was just like, oh, And I think this ridgeline, I could see it was raining for the last 2 hours just a few miles from me. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to get rained on, And it was like I had been wearing sweats all day. And I was on the verge of being cold, and then the sun came out. So I'm like, okay. Took the sweatpants, sweatshirt off. I'm all just in shorts and t-shirt and having a good old time. And then the clouds came back in, and I'm like, okay, I am like 5 miles from town. I do not want to stop and put my sweats back on, if I can help it. So I'm like, oh, come on. And so I pulled the batteries right down. So I'm going to have to wait and see. I'm about 35 miles from Albuquerque now, which is like 3 hours if I got good sun. But I won't get good sun for another hour after sunrise, so it's now just coming up. So I figure, okay, I'm going to move the bike back up to the Love's parking lot, so I'm legal. Go in, use the restroom, grab some coffee, eat some breakfast, and hopefully I'll get a charge in that amount of time. And then we'll hit the road. My laundry bag is getting full, so I might stop in Albuquerque and do laundry in the middle of the day, which means I could get more of a charge while I'm stopped. Although there is a cloud bank that way, so I don't know if it's coming in or going out. I haven't figured that out yet. It sure looks nice now, though. So, yeah. Anyway. Okay. Pick it all up and get going. Alright, still April 1st. Another day, another broken spoke. Only one this time. I didn't even realize I had a broken spoke. I just figured I'd check before I left. Sure enough, there was. So this one's not going to really cost me any time. So I got the bike leaned over towards the sun. And yes, there is sun. So I'm getting 2 amps of charge first thing in the morning. I'm going to start doing this more often, I think. Just lay it right over on the side because it's getting direct sun right now. So I don't get near that much sun first hour in the morning normally. So yeah, just have to be careful because the load always shifts when you lay it over. But for this much, for 2 amps of charge, that's worth it. So Time I get the bike put together, and then I'll go in and get a cup of coffee and wash my hands. Should be good to go. We're still at the Loves, so yeah. All right, moving on. Already got the spoke changed, just gonna put the tire back on. Oh, the other thing with the trailer, the last couple times I just disconnected the trailer, which is also a pain in the butt. This time, leaning it on the curb, got the back wheel right off the ground. So it's a little bit awkward getting the chain on and getting the wheel slid in there, but I think it's faster, so try to take advantage of that next time. The trick, I think, is the curb. It gets me up a little bit higher, so if I have a curb, that's what I'll probably do. Okay, it's about 20 after 9, a little later than I normally would leave, but now the battery is just about full. I got lots of sunshine so far. And by waiting a little bit now, the sun is higher, so I'll actually get an active charge as I'm riding. If I leave too early, the sun is still too low, so I end up pulling the batteries down anyway. So it's kind of a compromise. I mean, how far could I go in the last hour if I didn't wait? But in the meantime, I filled up all my water bottles, I changed the spoke, I ate some breakfast, read some email, replied to some comments, so made use of the time anyway, so now I can focus on riding. I'm going to be looking for a Walmart probably, or a dollar store to pick up some snacks. I've got about a 4-day ride after Albuquerque to the next real town, it looks like. I don't know what I got for services in between, so I'll be sure to fill up my 2-gallon jugs before I hit the road out in the open, but otherwise we should be good to go. So off we go. Nice little bike path here. There's no shoulder on the road where the bike path is, so figured I'd go ahead and try it. Completely covered in tumbleweeds in some areas, and I got to slow down because it's not made for going fast. But it's a nice effort anyway. The other cool thing, while I was at the truck stop, C-130s kept flying over. I don't know if they're doing practice drops or something, because they had the tail door open, the ramp. Kind of cool. Then I saw a Black Hawk helicopter, and then I had a V-22 Osprey fly over me a couple times. That's kind of neat, because for all the time I was in the military and stuff, the V-22 was still in prototype, I think, and I've never seen one actually fly in real life. So that was the first time I got to see one of those. They had kind of a troubled history getting started, but they're still pretty cool to see. Okay, I don't remember seeing hail in the forecast, but apparently it snuck up on us. Yeah, like half an hour ago I took my sweats and my sweatshirt off because it was so sunny. I'm coming over this overpass here, going about 2 miles an hour, just crawling up. No sun, so my battery is right down again. All of a sudden, ping, ping, ping. I'm like, smaller than peas, probably like BBs or something like that. But yeah, it already melted. I had a few on the sweatshirt here. So I look up and I see that, whatchamacallit, little overhang. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sneak in there. I can see the closed sign, but from the highway I couldn't see the cable, right? So I zoom in here and then I see the cable going across. They're closed for COVID probably. I'm like, I just want to get underneath something. So I duck behind this sign here. Thanks to the Palace West Casino. It was blowing, kind of blowing this way. So a little bit of shelter. I don't know, maybe van life is a better idea after all. We'll keep that in mind. I do gotta say though, if I ever do the recumbent bike trike with the solar on top, that would be a huge improvement. A couple people have asked about solar above me on the bicycle. I have seen it done, but from the people I've talked to,
some of the people that are going to be in the sun trip this year, they were talking about it, and the people they talked to that were in the sun trip Europe in the last couple of years said it's just an enormous strain on your wrists and arms, constantly counteracting the weight of the solar above you. They said some people just couldn't do it. They halfway through, oh, look, now the sun's coming out again. Yeah, this is better than Texas. Anyway, so a solar canopy over the bicycle doesn't seem like the best plan. I like the idea of the solar being as low as possible. It doesn't catch nearly as much wind. Some people have asked about tilting the solar panel. Again, I tested that in the wind, and it's just not a good idea. And because I lived in Texas, it's constantly windy, so I just decided if it wasn't going to work where I lived, I wasn't going to even mess with it anywhere else. So it would be a nice option to be able to tilt it if you didn't have a windy day, but the problem there is the tilting mechanism has to be completely rigid when it's locked in. And I found anytime I had something that was tilting, it would always wiggle a little bit. So not really a good idea. And yeah, to everybody who still hangs on to the idea of sails on a bicycle, the biggest thing I can think of, aside from just certain death, a sailboat has a huge keel sticking down in the water. You don't see it, right? That helps to counteract the force of the side wind on the sail. On a bicycle, you're balanced on these little tiny tires, and all your weight is above it. So if you also had a sail above that, it would be just a nightmare trying to keep it in control, because, you got both hands on the handlebars already. How are you going to control your sails, right? I'm not saying it couldn't be done. I'm not even thinking about it anymore. And wind is so variable, right? That's the other thing, is even if you got it completely set up right, all of a sudden you get a crosswind that comes out of nowhere. There's no way you could react to it fast enough in a lane of traffic. If you were out and completely in the open with no traffic, maybe. But sailboats work really good because they don't have lanes. They got, ocean kind of thing. If you're 20 feet off, most of the time it doesn't really matter. And typically when you're coming into port, you drop the sails and you motor in if you got a motor. So it's not really practical, honestly. It's too bad because it would be a really clever shortcut. The one thing I had considered, though, if I got one of those little Chinese windmills, at night, you can set it up and have a fully charged battery in the morning. That would be kind of cool, but it's heavy, and a windmill really should be at least 20 feet off the ground to be useful. It would work lower, but I guess unfortunately I read a book about how to do it the right way. And most people that are writing the comments haven't read the book, and so you get into a lot of this discussion of, well, it should work. It's like, well, intuitively, there's a lot of things that should work. What I really want is more people commenting who actually own a bicycle and have ridden it in the last 20 years. There's a long ways between intuition and what actually works in the real world. So, well, there's some sunshine again. I can't win. All right, what do we got? Yeah, amp and a half a charge. I guess we should get going. Make miles when the sun shines, I guess. I thought they were only in Texas. I was happy to see a Whataburger get one before I completely fall off the side of the world here. So I'm waiting patiently for them to fill the order. They're not particularly fast, but it's really good hamburgers. Come out, the bike's tipped over from the wind. Okay, fine. So the whole time I was waiting, the bike was leaned over, not getting the charge that it could have got. Go to pick it up, managed to knock it over on the other side. Anyway, it's been not a very good day. I mean, right now we got just a lot of sun. I think it's getting better, but there was a while there where I'd get about 2 minutes of sun and about 8 minutes of clouds, and it was just peeking in and out. The wind is kind of blowing across. It's a headwind, crosswind kind of. But if it stays like this, I can live with it. It's not too much of a wind, and it's about 50% cloud cover, so I can live with that. So just hoping it holds. I've got about 25 miles left, then I'm on the other side of Albuquerque and out on the, I think it's probably just a 2-lane road, 2-lane highway. I've been running on surface streets. There's a series of secondary roads, so I've been off the freeway. The irony is the freeway had a better shoulder. Yeah, it's whatever. But anywhere you're in town, you can't make up as much speed because you've got bumps, more bumps, traffic, shadows, trees, you know. So it'll be good to get out in the open again. Forecast for tomorrow is total sun, so we'll hope for the best. I haven't been looking too much further ahead because I had been watching all the 10-day forecasts from here to Vegas. And when I was planning, I had about, well, at least 10 days of sunshine, but I don't think I could have got that far in 10 days. So then I started over, so I kind of quit looking after a while. You can kind of fake yourself out looking at forecasts, so just go for it, I guess. Anyway, eat my hamburger now. I figured after getting beat up by the wind, I needed a break. Yeah, okay. Okay, a quick update while I get a second. I'm at a Walmart in Albuquerque. I'm going to ride for probably another hour or two. I want to get out of town, and then I'll probably set up a wild camp somewhere. I have no idea for the next probably 4 days what kind of cell phone coverage I'm going to have, so I just wanted to post a quick update now, and then the regular video I'll edit tonight and upload it if I'm able to. Internet and cell phone has been really good because I've been following interstates up until now. I'm going to go off on a secondary road, which, I don't know, my cell phone doesn't have great coverage sometimes, so it may or may not work. So I'll keep shooting videos and I'll upload them when I can. I figure it's about 4 days from here to the next actual town that I can see. There's probably going to be little whistle stops here and there, but I don't see any big towns for the next 4 days. I mean, it would be 4 hours on a car, but there's probably at least a gas station in between somewhere. Anyway, thanks for all your support. Stay tuned, and I'll post when I can. Bye for now. Okay, end of day report. We'll keep this one quiet. I rolled into an RV park just as the guy was closing up the office, almost out of town. And I was like, is there any place I can park? Typical story, running out of daylight and everything. And he kind of looks at me, okay, there's a parking spot over by the cabins. I think I scored the jackpot here. This is maybe, well, I don't know, the campsites were pretty nice, but this is pretty swanky. This is definitely above and beyond what I usually get away with here, so never hurts to ask. So yeah, it's almost 6 o'clock. I got the bike laid over so I can get the last of the sun. Still get a nap and charge, so that's pretty good. Honestly, today I was fighting some wind, but I had really good sun all afternoon. Pretty much from when I stopped for a hamburger. From then on, I had good sun, so I could keep up some good speed. But, oh man, going through Albuquerque, I don't like civilization anymore. I'm kind of thinking, although it's a trade-off. Turn the lights off. I need a dollar store and a hamburger once in a while, otherwise, oh, and a Walmart. But if I could figure out how to get to those without actual civilization and multi-lane traffic, that is a little dicey. Oh, bike tipped over about 4 times today when I was parking it. Broke a whole chunk of the plywood out of here where I did the cutouts to reduce the weight, so There's a little crack in the plastic of the panel, but it still seems to be working. So the plywood worked. You know, it took a pretty good hit. And I broke my mirror off, so then I had to go. Well, I started at a dollar store, and they had every kind of air freshener, but no wide-angle mirrors. So then I had to hit the Walmart anyway. So now I've got a mirror again. You do not want to ride a bicycle in traffic without at least one mirror, so that was kind of frightening. It's like as soon as I realized the mirror was gone, I didn't see it when I dropped it. Could have picked it up and probably glued it back on, but I realized I couldn't see, so I reached over to adjust it and realized the mirror was gone. And I'm like, oh great. I had just passed about 14 auto parts stores and then didn't have any on my side of the road for like miles. What are the odds of that? Usually you got more auto parts stores than you have gas stations. Anyway, I'm going to set up camp up against the fence, and then once the sun goes down, I'll move the bike out of the way a little bit so it doesn't look like a roadkill. And we got a fence for wind protection. The sun is going down there, so we should have sunrise that way. I'll try to get a little bit of sun in the morning. I'll get out of here as soon as I can so I don't offend the neighbors. And life is good. Oh, and I bought earplugs. Or I mean, not earplugs. I need earplugs. I bought earbuds so now I can hear my editing and not scream over the noise. Yeah. One step closer to getting it all put together. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for all the support. Do appreciate it. And after this, I'm pretty much going to drop off of the map, I think, for a while. I do see a cell phone tower here. I'm right on the edge of Highway 50 or 550. I'll be going north towards Farmington. I don't know if there's going to be any cell phone towers out there or not. I'll post when I can. And as always, thanks for all the support. I think in about 4 days my Patreon money should come through, so thanks for that. The YouTube money will be another like the 27th before I see that, so if anybody's got any loose change, go ahead and hit me up on PayPal. That's the best thing right now. That keeps the wheels rolling. So alright, best wishes and stay tuned. Bye for now. Oh yeah, bye.